Look at that, man. The great outdoors, huh?
That's right. I'm out here in beautiful Harvest Valley. Just smell all that poison. Hanging out in this poison level reminds me of all the unique ideas that the series has to offer. And since I'm hanging out in Drangleic, why don't we discuss my picks for the top 10 unique innovations from that red-headed stepchild of Miyazaki, Dark Souls 2. But first, I want to call attention to a few honorable mentions. And the first of those is going to be the invisible hollows and the invisible moths. Because whenever a light gets cast on them, it puts a shadow on the wall, and then you can hit them. Next, I would like to discuss the life gems. Now, I know that life gems are a contentious subject amongst Dark Souls fans, but I actually feel like they were implemented by the development team to offset some of the much harder areas of Dark Souls 2, especially seeing as how with this game, they just decided to just fill it with enemy spam. Another really cool change that Dark Souls 2 implemented, you can use your human effigies to go human after you have left the bonfire. To me, that's the best strategy, because who wants to go ahead and go human, get the extra life bar, possibly be able to summon help, and then die before you even get to the boss room? I think this was a great change. And the last honorable mention is that when you want to make a boss weapon, all you gotta do is go find your homeboy in the Bastille, Strayed. And what's great about Strayed is he doesn't require you to upgrade your weapon to some crazy degree like you do in Dark Souls 1. You simply give him the boss soul and boom, there you go. And now it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. Time to piss off the Dark Souls 2 haters. I'm sorry. Number 10. Personally, I've never done this one, but I do know that it's a great change that they put into Dark Souls 2. When you accidentally or intentionally kill an NPC, a tombstone will come up in Majula and you can buy them back. If you're playing Dark Souls 1 and somehow you manage to, oh I don't know, piss off and accidentally or intentionally kill that wonderful hunk of man meat, Andre of Astora, you are without a blacksmith until you get to Anne Orlando. I hope you like pyromancy. Thankfully, in Dark Souls 2, this is not a problem. Here's to never having to take responsibility for our actions. Number 9. Now the haters are gonna say that being able to warp anywhere at the beginning of the game in Dark Souls 2 is just a product of bad level design. But I am totally okay with being able to warp whenever I want, because warping whenever I want is just like eliminating bad runbacks. It saves me time. Let's say that you completed a level, but you feel like maybe there were a few items you probably missed. Now you can just warp back there and go explore the stage and check it out for yourself. Or let's say that you killed a boss and you want to go talk to Strayed like we just talked about a few minutes ago. What are you going to do? You going to run all the way to the Lost Bastille? Is that what you're going to do? No, you're going to warp there. How convenient. Number 8. And now we have a feature that was implemented in Scholar of the First Sin. That windmill puzzle that nobody would have ever figured out. In fact, it was pretty hard to figure out even with help, because the developers put this phantom NPC in Earthen Peak, and if you summon him, he will walk over to where the windmill is and pull up his binoculars for a nanosecond and then put them back down. And somehow we're supposed to interpret that as set it on fire. Luckily, this kind of evolved into the ghosts that we see in Elden Ring that are really cool, because those guys lead you to secrets and there is no vagueness about it because they literally walk right to the secret. Number 7. Only one game in the series spams enemies at you quite as much as Dark Souls 2 does. So the development team implemented a feature that if you kill the enemies enough in that area, they will actually stop spawning. As long as you're not in the Covenant of Champions, especially if you're gonna try to do the, what's that one run back that really blows? While I feel like despawning enemies is really more of a band-aid to fix a much bigger problem, I gotta say, I do at least appreciate the team for trying to do something to alleviate our pain. Number 6. And now it's time for another idea so great that it ended up in Elden Ring. Of course, I'm talking about those scary faces that are found on the floors and walls of Drangleic that you put a device into to open up a hidden room or a switch. The Ferrous Lockstones of Dark Souls 2 are echoed by the Stone Sword keys of Elden Ring. And in both games, sometimes the switch will open up a route to treasure, sometimes nothing, and sometimes even a trap. Of course, this shouldn't come as too big of a surprise, seeing as how much of Dark Souls 2 was designed to troll us. Number 5. And now we have a feature that has not returned to its full glory ever since its heyday in Dark Souls 2. And I am talking now about the torch. Yes, Dark Souls 3 does have a torch, but it's really just used for seeing in front of you and getting rid of those bastard maggots. I hate them so much! In contrast, Dark Souls 2 utilized the torch in many different interesting ways. In Things Betwixt, Dark Souls 2 shows us how the torch can be utilized to light braziers to increase visibility in the area. However, when we get to No Man's Wharf, we get to find out that oil can be ignited by the fire, and the torch is very useful for scaring away the Dark Dwellers, which are one of the most horrifyingly creepy things in Dark Souls 2. You can even use the torch to get Macduff to get up off of his duff by lighting the sconce next to his anvil. And if you go into the Undead Crypt and you light the braziers down below, you can summon dark spirits to fight you. And what do you get for beating them? It's a secret. And that's not all. You can even use your handy dandy torch to light those oil puddles on fire so the monsters don't come out to get your ass. With all of the interesting ideas they've come up with using the torch, I cannot believe they have not brought this stuff back. Come on, From Software. We need the Swiss Army knife of Dark Souls. Number 4. Have you ever fought a boss that you liked so much that you thought, hey, I'd like to fight him again, but I don't want to start a whole new playthrough? Or maybe you found a boss who just happens to give a ridiculous amount of souls every time you kill him, and you kind of want to farm him? Or what if it's a boss that you actually need multiple copies of his soul to make multiple items? Well, have I got a deal for you? Because if the area boss is deceased, all you gotta do is burn this little bonfire ascetic in the area, and you will respawn all of the wooden treasure chests, you will respawn all of the enemies, and you will respawn the area boss. Also, the surrounding area will increase one new game cycle, so everything's gonna be a little bit more difficult. Have fun. While the bonfire ascetic does have its share of haters, I think it's an interesting concept, and I think it's a very good example of the development team thinking outside of the box. Number 3. Swords are cool. But what if you could hold 2 swords? Yeah, that. I want to do that. Well, in Dark Souls 2, you can. After all, Bloodborne did teach us that shields are for wusses, so why not put something that belongs in that left hand, like a sword, just like the good Lord intended. Having the ability to inflict poison on one hand and bleed with the other can completely decimate an opponent. For some stupid reason, Dark Souls 3 only lets you dual wield with specific weapons. But praise the sun, because some legend at From Software decided to bring that stuff back for Elden Ring. That man deserves a raise. Woo! Dual wielding, baby. Is there any better way to fight? Number 2. As a matter of fact, there is. It's called Power Stance. If you have 150% of the required stats for your weapons, and both of the weapons that you choose to dual wield have the same attack type, just press the button that makes you two-hand, and now you're in Power Stance. It's freaking amazing. So, you hit your block button, and it causes you to swing both weapons at the same time. And your parry button, it's no stupid parry now. Now you do an ultra strong attack with both of your dual wield Power Stance weapons. Yeah! Power Stance is for the ultimate fighter who wants to go for maximum bonk bonk. Eat red Cheeto, noob! And now it's time for my number one pick, which is the ability to respec your character. For those new to the Souls series, the stats screen and the process of leveling your character properly can be quite a daunting and intimidating task. But even a seasoned player sometimes feels like they want to change up their build, and now, thanks to Dark Souls 2, we have that ability. And the ability was so cool that they put the feature in Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring. Hell yeah! In fact, it feels a little weird to be playing a From Software game that doesn't let you respec. But that's okay, because we will forgive Bloodborne because it's so awesome! So there you have it. The respec feature is my favorite innovation from Dark Souls 2 because it means I don't have to start a character from scratch just to try a new build. And that saves me that most precious of consumables, time. Now that I'm through gushing about Dark Souls 2, I would like to ask you, what are some of your favorite innovations that were introduced from the black sheep of the series? Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more stuff like this. Make sure you subscribe and turn on them notifications so that you get alerted the next time a video goes up. Before ending, it is my duty to recognize and acknowledge the fantastic subscribers who have gone above and beyond in support of the channel and myself. The Deal Doe for his extremely generous super chats and super thanks. Lost Boko, thank you so much for your generous contributions. And I have to point out that now the channel officially has 2 members, and the first 2 members of the channel are Telumrak and Last Bulbasaur. Thank you guys. You make me proud to do what I'm doing. I also want to thank everybody who's been joining on the live streams and chatting and just keeping me company and giving me tips while I'm on my Elden Ring playthrough. Even 9 hours of Elden Ring doesn't feel that long with you guys. And a special thanks to Hyper Kira for saving my sorry ass in so many boss fights. You're the man. And finally, I have to thank every single one of you that has watched, liked, commented, and subscribed to the channel. Thank you all so much. I couldn't do this without you. See you next time.